Wake up with a smile, and then in a while, come to lunch with the ladies. Lunch with the ladies. Lunch with the ladies. Lunch with the ladies.
In this episode, we talk to the filmmakers and cast of the movie Ramona at Midlife, Brooke Berman, Alysia Reiner, and Kristen Vaganos. It's an inspiring conversation about motherhood and women, all about what women can accomplish and how nothing will stop a determined woman. You'll also hear what it took to make this film and about the message it hopes to send to any woman with a dream.
Dear Patty Smith, I think someone has stolen my life.
I know who you are.
I'm Kiki's mom. Our kids are friends.
You're that Ramona. What Ramona?
What Ramona? Ramona, middle-aged, but still dresses like a rock chick. Used to be a writer, now works in an animal shelter. This is a real movie in production?
Do you know about the Monsbach movie? Of course I know about the Monsbach movie. Everybody knows about the Monsbach movie.
I just told him you were a mom at school. And maybe I told him I think of you as a cautionary tale for women artists, but that's it.
What?
Just like how you were a really big deal and then disappeared.
I didn't disappear. Look, I think this project is based on my work, and I think this character is based on me. What do I do? I don't know how to reconcile who I used to be with who I am now.
I think that's the question of middle age.
Wait, you're meeting women in AA?
The separation was not my choice.
I am feeling so much hostility here.
And you're not done.
This is not the life I'd planned to have.
What?
What?
Okay, reframe the narrative.
I wish someone wanted to make a movie about me.
He doesn't get to be the one telling my story.
Don't let him.
All my life I wanted my words to matter.
I think they matter.
Well, sure you do. You plagiarized them.
Oh my gosh, stop saying that!
On this episode,
Alysia Reiner. Alysia Reiner is best known as Fig in Orange is the New Black and Agent Sadie Deaver in Ms. Marvel. You may have also seen her as Sunny in Better Things, Kiki in The Deuce, Catherine in Shining Vale, and currently on Netflix's The Diplomat. Other filmed work includes Sideways, Broad City, and How to Get Away with Murder. Alysia has performed on stages from the Royal Court in London to the Apollo Theater in Harlem and in many plays in New York City. Kristen Vaganos. Kristen Vaganos, an LA-based Greek-American from Philadelphia, is the producer of Ramona at Midlife. She earned her BFA from NYU Tisch School of the Arts. The first feature she produced, Bobcat Moretti, is available to stream on Starz and elsewhere. As an actor, Kristen currently plays the role of Molly on ABC's General Hospital and stars in several feature films, including I Am Lisa on Peacock and Obsessed with the Babysitter on Hulu. Brooke Berman. Brooke Berman is a playwright, filmmaker, and memorist. Her plays, including Hunting and Gathering and In Model City, have been produced and developed across the U.S. and abroad. Her memoir, No Place Like Home, was published by Random House. Ramona at Midlife is her first feature film. It premiered at Gina Davis's Bentonville Film Festival and is now available to stream on Prime and Apple TV.
Welcome to the Libby Show. Today we have a great show with people from Ramona at Midlife. We have Brooke Berman, Alysia Reiner, and Kristen Vaganos. We're going to talk about the movie Ramona at Midlife. First of all, ladies, thank you all for being here and making time out of your schedules to make it and talk about this fantastic movie. The synopsis of this movie from IMDb. It is Ramona at Midlife. Single mother Ramona discovers that her unflattering current reality is the subject of a filmmaker's new project. As she faces up to her disappointments, she finds true creative power and is finally ready to become her true self. I watched the movie once, I watched the movie twice because the second time you see more, you understand more, and you say, oh, now I get that. It was so realistic. The dialogue was so realistic and on point to me. It was engaging and interesting, and I didn't know how the movie would end, which is always, I think, the key to a movie. Because when you watch a movie and you're like, I have a feeling this is how it's going to end, I didn't know how it was going to end, so I thought it was wonderful. And what I want to say is that this movie is a must-see for any mom or even woman who has a dream, had a dream, or wants to dream, because it's so truly inspirational. And also, before I forget, one of my favorite lines was, I didn't disappear, I'm just raising my kids. And I think that that is so true. So I want to start with Brooke Berman, the writer and director. Tell me, what was the spark, the impetus, your muse? Why did you create this?
Well, I always fall in love with character first. So, when I sit down to write a movie, it's not because there's a point I want to make, it's because there's a person that gets under my skin. And in particular, this character of Ramona, and honestly, her two friends, and what success means in midlife and the different paths we take, and um, the relationship between creative success and financial success and marital success, and how I think at a certain moment, when you're in your 20s, anything can happen, right? Like anything is possible. I remember feeling like I was just throwing things out into the world to see what came back to me. But by the time you're in your 40s, you've made some commitments and you have some structure, and there's certain things that maybe will happen and certain things that maybe won't happen. And I got interested in that. And I got interested in the way that these three friends, Ramona and Imani and Gwen, sort of came up together and now are in really different places. And I'm a mom. I'm not a single mom. I'm happily married, but I'm raising a child, and I only had one, and I had him later. And I spent so much time sitting on playgrounds, talking to the other moms, and figuring out how to live my creative life, around all of that. And so I think those questions were very much present. I like to write from questions, and then figure out what I think about those questions through figuring out the story.
Mm-hmm. So I do want to get into the whole message and meaning of this, and we can all add in our input on this. But I want to know, did you write, was there a particular person that you had in mind? Did you draw from life and characters that you knew, and people that you knew in real life for your characters?
No, I mean, I wrote the roles for the most part, I wrote for the actors who play those characters. So their pictures were in my head, their voices were in my head while I was writing. Um, Gosh, I mean, no.
And I asked that question because there were a few
Yeah.
people there was an author in real life in the movie. And you had, I think, that
Oh,
podcast,
yeah.
right?
Lynn
And
Nottage came in. That's right. Yeah. So later in the process, we decided, Kristen and I thought it would be really fun to populate the book party with actual writers. And I'm a writer. My husband's a writer. I'm in a community full of writers. So there are books by our writer friends all throughout the movie. There's a book by Rebecca Walker, and a book by Sari Botten, and there's a book by Tim Murphy. And then we reached out to a bunch of writers we knew to see who would come to that party. And it happened to be on Father's Day. So many of our writer friends were with their kids, but Lynn Nottage showed up for an hour, and she said, give me 3 words to speak. So we gave her 3 words to speak. And then
Natasha
Zibby
too.
Owens came in. What?
And Natasha too.
Yes, and Natasha as well. And then Zibby Owens played the podcaster. I had written an anonymous podcaster, and it was Alicia's idea that we should reach out to Zibby, and she's so brilliant, and it makes so much sense that she would be that podcaster.
And I noticed that was moms don't have time to read books. And I thought that was hysterical because I looked at him like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I wish I thought of that. That, in fact, is Zibby's podcast. But I think she's changed the name now. It's called Totally Booked.
Yeah, I think I read.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know she changed
Mhm.
her name. That's so cool. She's extraordinary because
Yeah.
I think when we first shot with her, she hadn't done as much as she's done. Like she has created a full-on incredible publishing brand.
Mhm.
So it's
And a
very
bookstore.
exciting. Yeah. She has multiple bookstores.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
So
she's amazing.
yeah.
I like that. I like how there were parts of real New York in the fictional movie. I really appreciate that. Alysia and Kristen, both of you, I'll start with you, Alysia. Tell me how you got involved. I know you know a gazillion people and you probably know everybody in New York City. So tell me how you came aboard this project.
I've known Brooke forever. I had a girl crush on her for a very long time before I knew her, just as a writer. I had written both her prose and her plays and thought she was just like, I mean, she really was the it girl that I thought was the coolest girl. And I always felt like not cool enough for her. And I did a reading of one of her plays early on, and then I never got to perform any of her plays. And I was like, oh, that's poor me. And so when she came to me with this, I was like, yes, absolutely. And we had so much fun collaborating on this character. It's such a rare thing to have a writer who is so magically open and collaborative and wants notes and wants to play with an actor and wants to, like, I think as an actor, you think a lot about. I personally have always wanted to work with Carol Churchill or Mike Lee, where it's this semi-scripted, improv experience. And that's really how I experienced this. Like we really created this character together in a really wonderful way. Like Brooke said to me, what do you think the name of her book should be? And that was it. Just the ownership and playfulness of that was so delightful. And also talking about female friendship, I think is something I could talk about forever. And the friendship over years and how it changes, and jealousy. I think there's jealousy is definitely a topic among these women, and how it affects you. And to me, jealousy really is a result of patriarchy. It's a result of this story. As Gwen, like, tell a new story. This story that we're told that there's not enough space for more than one woman succeeding in any industry, really. So I loved that this really talked about that. That's my puppy, Enzo. So that's a very long answer to your question.
Okay, that's okay. It's interesting that you brought up friendship because I looked at this movie and I'm like, yes, there were friendships there. There were friendships that were rekindled, and we've all done that when we get to be a certain age. We'll reach out to someone in our past, which was like, I guess it is really one of the primary messages of the movie, though I was seeing it more about the career aspects of it. But you're right, it's all entwined in friendships as well.
Well, they're connected because Ramona is ashamed, so she's not reaching out to those old friends. And like Alicia's saying, there's this uh unfortunate message the patriarchy gives us that says if someone's going to win, someone else is going to lose. Only one person can win. And the thing about these friends is they do want to win, but they want everybody to win. And the way they win is through being together. And so when Ramona can go back to those writers that she came up with and really own her space in that conversation, she can have the rest, she can have her whole self back. It's really about a woman making room for all the different parts of herself. And I think she needs to know that she can still show up with those friends. Like I'm watching White Lotus right now, and I think that's absolutely present in season 3 of White Lotus. How do those 3 friends connect now?
And one of them is not connecting as well as the other. But
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, I was like, what's gonna happen here?
Yes.
Kristen, so you went to school in New York, correct? You're from Philly?
Yes.
How did you get involved with this project?
Yeah, so I had already moved to LA when I first met Brooke, actually. We got connected through another amazing female filmmaker and pioneer of indie film and new models, just a woman we both really expect, named Naomi McDougall Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and she knew Brooke and she knew that I was producing more. And so she had connected us. And I think, the timeline goes that I was in New York in what was it, 2021, and we sat down and had
It
coffee
was
and
June of
chatted.
21.
June of
Yeah.
21, and then we actually decided to work together. I know Brooke spoke with a few people, but then by June of 22 we were shooting the film, and by June of 23 it premiered at Bentonville Film Festival. So that's our cute little timeline of how quick things moved. But yeah, I got introduced to Brooke through Naomi, and I was just delighted by the script and the film, and I really wanted to help her bring it to life.
And interesting because you're younger,
Mhm.
and the word cautionary tale was used several times within the movie. What drew you to this movie? Being that you're not in that position really yet to say, oh, these are my regrets and things like that.
Totally, totally. I mean, that's I think what has been really exciting to Brooke and I throughout this entire journey is that we come at it with a different perspective, each of us. But for me, it's this amazingly necessary, inspiring film, I think, in the sense of what if we can all sort this out now and get to the ages that we see Ramona and her friends at without as much regret or shame or jealousy or whatever it is. What if we can learn that there's room for all of us now, that we don't expire, that we can work and have a family? And it's not only about us learning it, it's about, as Alysia said, the systems not teaching it and the people other than women learning it and promoting it and supporting it. But it's, to me, it's just like it's the movie I want to exist to reset the narrative for all of us.
Yeah, and it's great to hear that from someone of your generation because I feel like the younger women always think, oh, I can have it all because they've been told they can have it all and they really can't have it all. Well, they could, but it's not that easy. It's not as easy as it's made out to be when they're, say, graduating
I
college.
want to be really careful about language for a second because
Yeah.
I think that message of you can have it all or you can't have it all, I just think that back to my character of like tell a new story. I don't think it's an either or. I just think that story is an old story of
I agree with
you can
that.
have it all or you can't have it all. I think it's about, for me, what is living in this day look like? What is who do I want to be in this moment? Who do I want to be as an artist? Who do I want to be as a human being? Who do I want to be as a mother, as a wife, as a friend? Like I I think that's a much more interesting
But
question.
I want to jump in because I think what you're saying is really, really, really important. And the have it all or can't have it all keeps it in a binary, right? So then it's like, well, I can have it all. Yay. Oh, I failed. I can't have it all. Now I'm off the hook. And I think the really juicy piece is okay, maybe you can't have it all at the same time, but there are compromises, there are trade-offs in the movie. Ramona says to Amani, well, you just need support. Like, what's the support going to look like? Or does it take a village? Or how do you create new structures? I think if our country had adequate childcare and healthcare and education, then there would be less pressure on individual women to try to shoulder everything. But I think what Alicia's saying is really, really, really important. It shouldn't, the having it all or not having it all, A, shouldn't fall on individual women. It's a societal question. And B, the juicier question underneath that is, who do I want to be?
Right. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, as I said, I was posing that question because I do see young women having babies thinking life isn't going to change as much as it is. And I think you can have it all. And they're going bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. This is what's going to happen. That it is a struggle and that one news reporter that I interviewed said, well, I'm a different person at different parts of the day. When from this hour, this is my priority and I'm Miss Newscaster. Then I go home and I'm cooking dinner. And then at night I sit with my husband and I'm wife for the night. So it's juggling and being different things at different times of the day, but that's not easy.
Yeah, that's collating identities. And that's very much at the heart of this movie. How do we collate all these identities?
Overall, though, and this question and answer to be answered by anyone, why do you think that women, when they're raising their families, they feel like they don't deserve a career, or they wait so long to say, okay, now I've done enough with my kids. Okay, now I can really take some time for myself. Why do you think that they wait before they start to do what they really feel like they want to be doing at that point in time?
Well, I have no idea. I did it in the reverse. I had a career. I didn't have a child till I was 40. So I put creative, I put my, I don't know, I just did what was in front of me. So I'm a terrible person to answer that question because that wasn't my lived experience.
Yeah, I would agree. For me it was like my truth is I was very afraid to have a kid because of how it would affect my career. And then I did have a kid and it actually affected my career in a very positive way. You know, like my career didn't languish, it flourished. So again, it's about that. I'm really interested in breaking the stories that we tell to women and like what does it look like to tell a new story. I'm so in my character right now.
But
And that was the name
that's
of
at the
your book.
heart of the movie.
Yes.
I mean, I'm so glad you're so in that character. And, Alysia, you brought up Mike Lee. That's intentional on my part. I work that way on purpose because I love playing with actors. So I love it when the actor jumps in and takes ownership of that character. And then we sort of find them together. Like I remember Kristen on set, you were like, but who is this girl, Tammy? Because Kristen also acted in the movie. And I thought, Jesus, I can't tell you who Tammy is. Like, you have to tell me. We have to find that together. So thank God that you still feel some connection to and ownership of Gwen's voice, Alysia. That's beautiful. Yeah, I think there are a myriad of paths toward fulfillment. And sometimes they involve careers and sometimes they don't. And sometimes they involve kids and sometimes they don't. And I think women need to know that we can make compromises. And that's okay. And it's never going to look like what you think it is. I mean, that's true of careers as well. I've achieved a lot of career success and I still wake up in the morning feeling like me. So like, we all kind of, I think it's very human to build a fantasy of what it'll look like with a career or with a baby or with $1 million or with that great handbag that you want. And then it's the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love you that you brought that up because I do feel like that's also what the movie's about in a big way of these fantasies, these perfectionistic fantasies that we have of what it will look like when we get to that magical place. And I love that your lead character is really willing to look under the rock in that way, be it about her marriage or be it about work, where she's not willing to just take what's in front of her. She's really like, she picks up the rock and looks underneath it. And like, she really, really, really explores in a deep way as opposed to just taking the stories that have been told to her whole life.
I think there's also something, I won't take up too much time on this topic as someone who doesn't have kids and hasn't lived through the experience you've asked about, but I do think there's something interesting about like the fantasy Alysia mentions, like you, as someone who hasn't yet done kids, like you do think there's still time for it to all look exactly how I think it'll look and for me to achieve everything I want to have achieved before I can take this big time off to have kids, which again, maybe that doesn't need to be, how it goes or how it looks. But I appreciate about this film is that it sort of removes that narrative that it's all gonna look perfect and that you'll be ready and you'll know what to do, and you've failed if it didn't look how you imagined by the time something happened. So it's something I still like remind myself as I think about my life. I just have to get through this and this before I can do marriage, whatever it be. And it's probably not going to work out. I'm probably not going to check every box before I'm ready for things or whatever. And that's okay. And then you'll reframe and you'll be fine and you'll course correct and whatever. And it'll probably still be okay. So that's a message I feel like I take, because I still feel the anxieties come up and I still feel the planning and the control that I want to have. And I know I need to let go. So
That's women. We're all planners.
yeah.
It's all about adaptation. So I want to get back on another subject regarding this movie. It's an indie film. Very difficult to make an indie film these days. Very difficult to make money on an indie film these days. But tell me about the process of making it. Who was part of your tribe? I saw a whole long list of people in your credits. How long did it take? Where did you film? Tell me something about that process. Any of you can jump in on what you did.
Sure. Well, I'll start because actually, when Alysia talked about our origin story, one of the things that I don't know if you remember is that when Alysia did the film Egg, so after that reading, I moved to LA for 5 years. And then when I moved back, I got invited to a dinner party at Alicia's house. And so right around the time I came back from Los Angeles, Alysia came back into my life through this dinner party. And it was one of those really effusive, exciting, collaborative, like magical nights where like everyone at the dinner party is like amazing and inspiring, and we all take pictures together. And I thought, oh wow, that's my tribe. That's my tribe. I want to be with those women. And it was right around the time Alysia was making Equity. And then she screened Equity at the Athena Festival at Barnard. I'm a Barnard grad. And I went to go see it. And then she was on a panel afterwards about indie film. And at the time, I was setting up a different film, and it was meant to be my first as a director. And I just had a ton of questions for Alysia on the panel. And she kind of said, like, yeah, call me. Like, I'll talk to you later. So she was always a beacon for me in terms of an independent artist taking responsibility for a story they want to see in the world and then getting that story into the world. And so flash forward, that movie didn't get made. A lot of effort and love went into it. And I sat down to make this one. And I went looking for a producing partner. The first thing I did was I hired somebody to make me a budget. So I hired this random, wonderful woman I met on Facebook. And I said, make me a budget. What's the least I can afford to make it on? And then based on that, I went looking for a producing partner. And Kristen is correct. I went and interviewed a couple of people, and really Kristen blew me away. She was by far the most responsible, articulate, clear, strong person I spoke with. I thought I can make a movie with her. And then she and I took that budget that we had and we brought it down by $200,000. And then we went looking for a team. I had spent the previous 5 years teaching at NYU grad film school. So I had a couple of former students that had said they wanted to work with me. So they became part of that package. We hired someone else that we met through Naomi to make us a lookbook, because I'm terrible at that. And then we cast it. And we knew we wanted Alysia. We waited until we had like a couple of things in place so that we could go to Alysia with something. Some of the other actors were already attached because I had written for them and they'd done some readings for me. And we had our DP, who was someone I knew through NYU, who ultimately dropped off the project to shoot a Jennifer Hudson movie, but that's a whole other story. And then we created a business plan, and we attached a business affairs executive producer, Sarah McFarlane, who is an invaluable part of our team. And then we went looking for the money, and we pitched all over the place. I made a spreadsheet of every single person I knew who had either supported my work in the past, who I knew had capital, who I knew had put a project together and had information for me about how to do it. I asked lots of people for advice. I asked a lot of people for money. And little by little, the pieces started coming in, and we found investor teams. And so that was really exciting. Do you want to take over, Kristen?
Yeah, well, I know there's history to, as you mentioned, you had been setting up prior movies before this one and had things that were in development, and this was really your baby in terms of I'm not going to wait for anyone. I'm not going to wait for the big studios to greenlight me. I'm not going to wait for the big agencies to find availability in the A-listers schedule who's in more demand than anyone. So that's not happening anytime soon. But they're interested, those sorts of things that you were already involved in. And that this was really like, let's find the people, let's call in all my favors, let's call on my tribe, and let's do it ourselves. So
Yeah, that's
that was
true.
something we spoke about from the very beginning, because there are a million models of how you can go about making a movie. You can go pitching it around town to the big, companies. But I heard from Brooke right away that wasn't how this was going to happen. This was going to be a friends and family, all hands on deck experience. And so then that was the model we went with. And that from then I understood the process. And so it really was that. I mean, it was like a lot of friends like pouring their heart and soul into it. And it was exciting in that way because everybody who was involved really wanted to be there. They really believed. I mean, nobody was there to make a bunch of money. It was like passion about this film. And yeah, we have a couple really like amazing key players. Sarah, that Brooke mentioned, we couldn't have done it without her. And people we will work with time and time again. But yeah, that was sort of a key piece about this one, was that it was just going to be a family film.
And that's, I mean, I've worked on movies with Alysia, and it's, equity was, it was a family, everybody doing something for a purpose. And I don't think that happens when you're dealing with big studio films. There's meaning and purpose behind the films.
Yeah.
And I know all of
I was so inspired by the origin story of equity. I mean, the way you told it, Alysia, it's like you sat in people's offices and said, you've never seen yourself on film before, and this movie will let you do that. And I think we felt that way about Midlife. We don't have Women on Wall Street, but we do have a very particular portrait of middle-aged motherhood that is not aspirational, that is not a hero's story, that's a slice of life, that I know from being on the festival circuit that parents of both genders had come up to me and said, I really feel seen by this movie.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I totally agree. That's why I said the dialogue was so realistic. I was picturing myself in the playground and kids coming home from school, and this the way Kiki did her lines. I'm like, yeah, that's how kids talk. So it was captured. It was slice of life captured really well. I want to talk about the music in the movie. Part of the premise of the movie was you were writing letters to Patti Smith, who went through something similar. I want to know, are you a big Patti Smith fan? And then I also want to talk to you about some of the background music also. So whose idea was Patti
Yeah,
Smith?
sure. Patti Smith was my idea. I'm a Detroiter, and I met Patti Smith on my honeymoon at the Chateau Marmont, and just have always found her to be really inspirational. And we would take my son to Detroit every summer to visit my grandma. And when you visit people in their 90s, they take very long naps. So we would take our son around to see things in the city. And I didn't really understand until I had a kid that Patti Smith had left New York and lived in Michigan while she raised her children. And I found that so curious and so fascinating. And I had a bunch of questions for her, just about like, did you go to PTA meetings? Like, what did she do during those years? And I wanted to know if she made lunches, and I wanted to know, she's very private, and she's very private about that part of her life in particular, but in the way she speaks about motherhood, she has never split. It goes back to what Alysia said about having it all. Patti Smith has never split her identity as a mother from her identity as a worker or as an artist. And it seems like, from the little I know, that she didn't experience those things in conflict. And that was really interesting to me.
But she took off time to raise her kids.
She wrote every day. She said she said that moving to Michigan to raise those kids saved her as an artist. And I think she woke up at 5 a.m. and wrote every day. And I think her books come from that time.
Yeah, I saw that, just kids. now that my kids are older, this mom does have time to read books, so that'll be on my list.
It's really good.
Okay. Another question. So I really like my son's in a band. I've been to see many, many New York City bands. And I said these are indie type bands. And they also seemed like I'm a big fan of 70s, 80s rom-coms. And I'm like, this music would go right, like it would fit in You've Got Mail. I'm like, how did you choose the bands? And are they people that you knew?
Yeah, I mean, I think Brooke should touch on the Liz Mitchell aspect of it all, who's an artist we feature heavily throughout the movie. But we also had a colleague who has represents a bunch of artists, and in another sort of beautiful, supportive teammate manner, he offered us a lot of his artist music, and so we had this database to sort of like find artists who spoke to us and felt like they embodied the film, and that was a really fun experience for us. But an artist we feature mostly is Liz Mitchell and the band Ida, who Brooke can speak to.
And the
that's,
person that
you know,
Kristen's, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say Gil, who helped us with that, is,
Yes.
Brooke and I had known for a long time through the like indie circuit, and his whole dream is like, how do I connect more indie artists, music and film? And it's such a beautiful, again, collaborative, how do we remake this idea, which, brings me to the idea of independent film in this moment. I think it's a lot of independent filmmakers are really curious, like, what are we doing? How are we doing this? How do we create a more sustainable, nourishing system that's not the studio system? Because I think a lot of artists are really interested in making art outside of the system because the
That's right.
system has its like patriarchy, capitalism, all these sort of roadblocks that make making the art that you want to make really challenging. So a lot of us are looking at like, how do we create new systems that really help us all and nourish us all and make us all some money too? Like there's nothing wrong with making money, as long as it's a more equal system.
And I
And
think
so
that's
this is Gil Holland that Alysia and Kristen are talking about. His name is Gil Holland, and we knew him back in New York. He was part of a management company called Holland LaSalle or LaSalle Holland. When my first big play went up in New York, oh my God, 20 years ago, they repped an actor that I cast, and Gil's been on my radar ever since. And he then moved to Louisville and he opened this record label, and he's an independent producer and also a music producer. And so Alicia's right. His mission is like to connect indie filmmakers and indie musicians. And so his bands are mostly all based in Louisville. He gave Kristen and I a whole catalog and said, tell me who you want to work with and I'll make it happen. And then Elizabeth Mitchell is this artist that I had known who had a band called Ida and then went on to do kids music. So in my 30s, I was standing in clubs with like cute boys listening to Ida. And in my 40s, I was bouncing my son up and down to sleep listening to Ida, but listening to Liz Mitchell's kids music, You Are My Flower.
I'll have to check that out. I did.
She's amazing.
Yeah, I did. As I said, I appreciate the music because, a film to me, this is why I have to watch them multiple times. Don't ask me how many times I've watched Love Actually or You've Got Mail or any of those, but there's just so much in there and the music can make or break it. It really can. And I think your music was spot on. I want to ask now what everyone else is doing. And then I just want to ask a few personal questions about the movies that you watch and the things that you've been binging on. So I just want to ask everyone now, given that you are all women that are continually doing things. What are your next projects? So I'll start with Brooke.
Okay, I have three that I'm in development with. I wrote a movie last year called Drama Club. I went to John Hughes's high school on the North Shore of Chicago. And when I was in my freshman year of high school, John Hughes sent the Breakfast Club actors to come observe us. And so I wrote a movie about the kids in the drama club the year that the John Hughes actors come. And it's a little bit like you're watching a John Hughes movie and then the camera shifts back and you realize you're actually in Lady Bird. And so I am developing that right now. I'm looking to set it up with another director, not me. I'm super excited about it. And then I have a movie called Major Minor Details that I sold 20 years ago, and the rights reverted back to me. And that's going to be my next directing project. So I'm in the very early stages of setting that one up. And then I have a play called A Model City, about music, also about Detroit. My mom lived in the same apartment building as Diana Ross and the Supremes in the 60s.
Wow.
So during the 1967 uprisings, my mom and the Supremes were all living in this gorgeous high rise building. And it's a story about Black and Jewish intersectionality and this kind of ill fated friendship between a Jewish housewife and a Motown backup singer. That's it.
Good luck with it all.
And I have read that play and it's so good. And
Thanks.
my next plan is to be in all of Brooke's projects from now on until the end of
You
time.
got
No,
it. Yeah, you got
My
it.
next plan is to save the planet. Keep doing it.
yes, there's a lot of planet saving going on. I have a movie that also I'm just in, not produced or anything, that just won a big award at the Santa Barbara Film Festival. And then I have a bunch of stuff in development, so we'll see how that all goes. How about you, Kristen?
I am continuing my day job of I act on General Hospital, and I am in development on a couple things as well. I'm writing a film for a production company right now that's a female sports comedy. And I've written a film of my own that I need to do another pass on before I take it out. But that's a project I'm very excited about as well. And I hope to continue collaborating with these gals. So yeah.
That sounds great. And female sports, that is all the rage.
Yeah. I think like shows like Glow, like I miss that show a lot. I just want to see women in like angry, aggressive, chaotic, fun, empowered films. Yeah.
And we need role models. I mean, when I was growing up, I think my role model was probably Mary Tyler Moore. There weren't a whole lot of role models, but she was a good one. And Marsha Brady, she was an okay one. That's about it. All right, so I'm going to do something called the lightning round, Libby lightning round now. Let's go around and ask everyone the same questions to get to know a little bit about you. First question is, top 3 movies of all time, Brooke.
Oh my God, I'm terrible at that question. But you mentioned all those Nora Ephron movies, and I love that. I love When Harry Met Sally. I just rewatched Paris, Texas on the big screen. I loved that. I still love all those black and white screwball comedies like His Gal Friday and It Happened One Night. But I'm a big movie fan, so I can't nail it down to 3.
I know, it's hard. It's hard. It's
yeah.
hard. Alysia.
I don't believe in favorites of anything. My only one that I can say is The Princess Bride, because that movie, I don't know. That's my comfort food movie.
Okay.
But there's so many movies I love so much for so many different reasons. I think again, it's like what are you watching the movie for? Do you need a romantic comedy today? Do you need like a walkabout movie? Like I feel like this movie is a walkabout movie. Do you need to feel seen and heard and part of, like, again, which is, I think this movie is so much that. Do you want something of a thriller? Then you might want to watch Equity. So it depends what you're in the mood for. If you're hungry, it's like, everything that, yeah, that's what I would say. How about you, Kristen?
That's a great point. You say comfort movie, and I think A League of Their Own, but it's and if I want something more like emotional, I'll go to Revolutionary Road if I want to like cry it out. But yeah, I'm with you. It's impossible to pick these days. There's too much. But those two come to mind.
You know, it's a good comfort movie. I went to a screening this summer of Desperately Seeking Susan, and it
Oh
really
yeah.
holds up. It's pretty flawless. That
Mm,
was a brilliant comfort movie.
mm.
Yeah. I remember seeing that on a date in the village back in the 80s.
Oh,
Mm.
That was the place to see that movie. What about what you're watching on any of the streamers or cable or old-fashioned TV?
I am loving Shrinking right now. I
Yeah.
have fallen madly and passionately in love with season 2 of Shrinking. I love every character. I love the writing. Brett Goldstein is so heartbreaking. And one of my friends, Ashley Nicole Black, is a writer on it. So I love everything about it right now. It is my comfort. That's my like it makes me feel good about people in the world and our deep, beautiful imperfections as humans.
Some of those episodes were they just gave me shivers. There was one episode, I don't want to spoil it if you haven't I wouldn't spoil it, but some of them are ex every show has some standout episodes, and some of those you just sit there and say, wow, such great writing.
yeah, I'm
What
loving
about you?
that show too.
What
Yeah.
about you, Kristen?
I'm loving Shrinking. I'm loving Abbott Elementary,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm binging Severance right now.
Oh
That
yeah.
was really, really good. I just respect the artistry in that. It's such a unique and creative little world. I'm like so on the edge of my seat about what's next.
Yeah. Yeah. Ben Stiller and all the other directors are doing such a great job.
Mhm.
And it's another one of these, you don't know how it's going to end. You know,
Mm.
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
survives?
I loved The Diplomat, which
Oh
Alicia is
yes.
on. I just
Yeah.
ate that up. I think that she is my favorite midlife protagonist, Carrie Russell, in that show. I love her. I just love her. I already binged all of that. So now I just finished apple cider vinegar, which I loved as well.
Is it
Pretty
good?
great. I love a scammer
I
story.
just started apple cider vinegar. I'm excited that you loved it.
Oh,
I
good.
loved it. Yeah, I loved it. I wish I had written it. I thought it was great. And yeah, and I just got back into White Lotus, so we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love The Diplomat. I love seeing you on The Diplomat, and you're the love of your life, David, who is also in Ramona at Midlife on The Diplomat. And I just loved also, I was just, it was the females had such a great, they were so much a part of everything
Mhm.
in that series.
Yeah, I want to know what Allison Janney is going to do in the next season. I'm so excited.
Okay, next question would be best advice for your younger self, something you would tell your
Mm.
Brooke.
Don't take bad advice. Don't take bad advice. Just stay the course.
Okay. How about you, Alicia? You're looking very pensive.
Yeah, it's so funny because I don't think 10 years ago was that long ago. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, well,
Yeah, same.
I would go to my like little girl, and what do I want to say to
Mm.
her? And it really comes down to like you are enough, you have enough, you do enough. Like it's always that thing of like don't forget to love on yourself every day and don't take other people's opinions too seriously. Back to what you were saying, Brooke, other people's opinions, like opinions are like assholes, as they say. And they're just other people's opinions. And keep playing and stay in the present day as much as you can. Not the past and not the future. Just be here now. Um, it's so funny when you think back, like all the wisdom you have that you wish you could impart to that little human. And I experience that now as a mom. And my job actually is to just be quiet, I feel, as much as I can and let my child experience life for themselves and try and just remind them to that they are so loved unconditionally and to stay curious and stay in wonder and be here now.
Wonderful words of wisdom. And it gets harder with your kids the older they get, holding that tongue. But that's it. Just
I have a dear friend who is one of my who's one of my mom mentors, and she said after they leave your house, your job is just to eat the popcorn. Like it's watch the movie and eat the popcorn. And when you want to say something, just put the popcorn in your mouth.
I love that.
wonderful
I love
advice.
that.
Wonderful advice with two that have left the nest. Yes.
Yeah.
What about you, Kristen? Advice to a younger self could be, and we'll change that to any age.
Yeah, I mean, I think I am very impatient and it makes me work hard. So there are pros, but then there are cons of I'm not always in the present moment. I do wonder if I'll hit a certain age and just rebel and let loose because I didn't do it when I was the age you're supposed to do it. You know what I mean? I don't really think so. It's mostly a joke, but the point being, I do worry so much about the future, and I try to be so responsible and plan and this and that I do think the advice past me needs as much as right now. I think I perhaps will always need it is like calm down, check in, enjoy the moment because you don't get this one back. The future's still coming. It's still going to be there. You're not going to drastically change it right this second. So just be present. Yeah.
Good advice. And one last question. What is the best thing about being the age that you are right now? Start with Brooke.
I'm about to have a birthday next week, so I'm only this age for another week. I feel a great sense of fulfillment from all the creative relationships. I think the best thing about being this age is I have a history. Like Kristen was saying, all of these people who showed up to help us make the movie, they were all people that I had a lot of history with. And it's pretty incredible when you look at, when you look back over your life and you think, oh God, I've known this person for that long. Even, this person I was close to, but this other person I've just witnessed all these years. It's really incredible to have invested in a community for that long.
What about you, Alysia?
I'm so reminded of Three Tall Women. That was one of my favorite plays of all time, Edward Albee. And I do believe like this is the best moment. But when I was 26, I felt like that was the best moment, and then the older version of me will be like, and this is the best moment. So I think for me, the best part of this moment is how much love I have. Like I think my heart is more open than it ever has been. And I feel free to love my people and my life and my work in a deeper way than I ever have. As I have evolved as a human, I keep on trying to like peel off the layers from that to, those protective layers and those protective stories that we hear and we know. And how do I keep my heart open? I actually heard an expression recently that I loved, which is my open heart keeps me safe. Tara Brach said that. And it feels like the opposite, right? Like, wait, no, keeping my heart open is like dangerous. But I do believe my open heart keeps me safe. And in this moment in time, I'm more facile than ever in walking through all the emotions experience very quickly, like I was just in Boston this weekend and I was able to articulate how I was feeling and feel it and cry and have grief. And then, like, it passes in a way that having a 16-year-old, I noticed like you're not as facile with your own emotions and brain. So I guess that's what I love in this moment.
We love every moment of life, which is what a great way to look at things. And I know how gratitude plays an important part in your life. And I've never had an answer. I've asked that question a lot of times, and I don't usually get that answer. So that's a wonderful answer that we should all take with us. What about you, Kristen?
Right now, I'm really inspired. I think perhaps more than I have been. I think in my early 20s, I felt like I knew everything, and I'm really open to how much I don't know right now, but it isn't scary like I thought it might be. It's an opportunity, it feels like. So I'm sort of at the beginning too of what Brooke cashed in on in this movie, which is like utilizing your cohort and all these relationships. I'm sort of seeing friends of mine who have worked so hard make that next jump. I'm in a position at times, and when I am, I'm so grateful to it to be able to hire people I respect and love and think deserve, position. So it's kind of exciting, this moment to me, that we're all sort of rising up together and becoming the powerhouses I can see we're all going to be, and we're excited, and I'm just inspired by the people around me and by working together and by people further along as well. The whole thing just feels like, as much as this moment in time, both within our industry and in a broader humanitarian way, it feels limiting or like there are problems to solve. I just think the other side of that, which I'm grateful to be taking the perspective of, that means there's opportunities to come up with new solutions. And I'm just comforted by that and sitting in that a little more comfortably than the fear that once held that place. So
Thank you.
Answer, but, yeah.
Thank you all for such inspiring answers, which is exactly what the point of me doing this talk show was about. I started during the pandemic to inspire people to get out there and do something. So your words are very inspiring, and I hope that the people listening and watching will learn from this and also learn from the movie, because the words that you were saying about the best thing about being the age you are has a lot to do with what this whole movie, Ramona at Midlife, was about. Is don't forget yourself, find yourself, figure out what yourself is, and go ahead and do it. So I would encourage everyone to watch the movie, Ramona at Midlife. Tell me, Brooke, where we can find this movie.
You can find it on Prime. You can find it on Apple TV. You can find it on Fandango at home. You can find it on Google Play.
Okay, so it's everywhere. So
everywhere.
So I want to thank you ladies again for coming. And as I end the show all the time with the same message, my message is every day, find some joy and give some joy. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wake up with a smile.